So much has shifted for me this year, and I wanted to use this video in particular to share what I've gone through. It's going to be a short video, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but I realize I have only done a few videos in the last couple of months, or maybe a couple, and the reason why is actually something that if you take to heart as we close this year, you may find the end of the year more deeply satisfying and able to set you up for 2026 in a way that you may feel much more connected to yourself and therefore allow yourself to expand into your higher vision in a true way, as in not forced, not performance, not pushed, not hustled, not manufactured, but actually coming through as who you really are. And that means your greater capacity. Because I believe most of us always tend to operate at less than our capacity. Instead, we distract ourselves, we get so busy, there's so many expectations and pressure that we put on ourselves that there's always this feeling of having to move towards something, like I'm not being enough yet. And that is exactly what keeps us in that lower capacity. Whereas when we move towards our true self, more of who we really are and what we're capable of gets revealed. It's actually like an unveiling of a gorgeous sculpture, and a lot of what happened for me in the last year, and which is a reason I didn't end up doing as many videos as I thought I would be, because something very significant shifted. And to one degree, it's a shift that, I can say I've been wanting for a long time, but at the same time, it's a shift that I know I resisted because I didn't quite believe that it could happen, right? Or I was too worried about the how. And so, how I relate this to the end of the year, the 12th month, this is a month where we can go into a lot of thought about, how did the year unfold? Did I accomplish what I wanted? Did I experience what I wanted? Am I disappointed? Am I now in feeling like I'm in a rut? Or did I actually change a lot of things and I'm really proud of myself, right? It could be anything, one of those, or anything in between, or something completely different, right? So each of you watching this video are going to have a different answer to that. But it's never about, did I accomplish what I intended? That's not, to me, the final question. There is something deeper. Do I feel more of myself, more in myself than I did at the beginning of this year? And when you answer this question, it's not to assess yourself, measure yourself against some kind of performance metric. It's not about judging yourself. It's actually to begin turning your perception around to the thing that's actually going to make you feel far more connected to yourself, to your energy, to your field, to the greater field, to the universe, to others. Am I more myself by the end of this year or less? And I've never asked this question of myself until this very moment, until it just literally came out right now. And as a result, because I'm experiencing it at the same time you are, I find it intriguing because it completely changes the game. Am I more myself or less myself than I was at the beginning of the year? You could have had tons of wins, you could have tons of losses, you could have a bit of both. But that question is going to go more to how you moved through the year and where you've landed. And for me, I can say I am closer. I definitely feel closer to who I really am. I feel I am now capable of being more of who I am. And that is because of the time I took, in a way, for the first time in my own life, of getting incredibly precise about what I was experiencing and about recognizing it and making choices moment by moment versus the choices that one makes when there are goals, when we want certain performance results, when we have all these expectations. And so a lot of it was very much behind the scenes. Like, there's one person who would know what I've been working on. And I haven't done as many videos either because I was finding there was so much integration that was happening and some really like rapid initiations and revelations that were coming through, and then the integration had to happen, and I really needed to honor the space for that to land within myself before I can share. And today I just want to, I guess, for those of you who might have been watching my videos more regularly, this video will make sense. If you're completely new, you probably won't have a clue what I'm talking about. And it may just sound like I'm rambling, which is fine. But I wanted to record it. And see what came out. And I think that's the question. If I had to name it, is like, what would it take for you to be more of yourself? So first check in. Am I more or less or about the same? And what would it look like? What would it feel like? What would it mean to be more of myself? And what kind of impact would that have in my world? Because when we start moving from that angle, guess what? More of us actually begins to be able to show up. And the areas where we might feel like like I'm not showing up, I'm feeling like I'm showing up less as myself, it gives us cues as to what needs to shift. Because when we are more of ourself, our true self, I'm not talking about, an image, a persona, I'm talking about the real self that includes our bigger dreams, our amazing ideas, our passion, our truth, our visions and intentions and hopes, all of that. When we are more of that, we can experience more of who we are and live that life. That's what living a life of our higher self to me is about. And then automatically, all the other things that need to happen in the practical sense, in the physical material world, will begin to happen because you'll know what each next step is. When we're measuring from the outside or, the goals that we set because we see others set them, that is not operating from our truth. And I've been through years where I was focused to some extent on that. I'm not the kind of person who's ever been able to focus 100% on that because it's not true for me, right? But there was a time when I assessed myself and where I was in my life and thought, I'm not where I want to be. Yes, I've done many things that I'm happy with. I'm excited about the shifts that I've made or the trajectories I've traveled along. But there's certain things I'm not experiencing or achieving. And so I thought, okay, maybe I do need to watch these other people who I admire, the ones who are talking about results that I'd also like to have. And it's good to learn from that. And yes, it's good to learn from other people. We need other people. There's nothing in any single one of us that is created just through us without interactions with others, right? But what happened, and is very common, is that when you start following others, watching others, working with others, and you see them as like far along the path than you, it's very easy to begin to mimic some of that, because it's like trying on having training wheels. You're trying something out, you're learning, so you're allowing yourself to have those training wheels, which would be an example of taking on somebody else's goals. Like, you watch them and you're like, wow, I want that too, and then you somehow just just claim it as your desire, instead of going into the nuances of what is actually important to you. How do you personally express versus anyone around you? Okay, so I went into a period where I was having these goals, and they were like, goals that a lot of people would have. Like, they weren't strange or unnatural, they were very common, and that was the problem. They were just common. And when things are common, I don't care whether the common sounds like I want to make $1 million. Like, people think that's a common desire. Well, some people want it, some people don't, right? But whatever comes from that place of, it's kind of a universal desire, isn't it? When we focus on that, we very much lose ourselves. We very much have a difficult time showing up, because we're working with the kind of mask or the image that we think is needed in order to have what we want, in order to be who we really are, right? So money is just a perfect example, because it's something easy to relate to. For other people, it could be like, yes, I need the family. I want the family. I want this kind of house. I want to go on these kind of holidays. This is the kind of physique I want, right? This is the beauty I want. And all of that can take us away from who we are, not because any of it is wrong, totally natural desires, but because we're not talking about how it applies to us, what it means to us, and why it's even relevant. And so a lot of what I was doing this year, as I would say behind the scenes, was really pausing and looking at how I was making choices, what choices my mind wanted to make, my mind wanted to make, and then what choices my body wanted to make, because they weren't on the same page. My mind, like many, it just runs forward, right? It thinks so far ahead, and then it comes up with like 100 things to do. And the body might still be just sitting there going, I don't even want to move, right? Some moments. And other times the body's like, yeah, I'm energized, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and does way more than I expected. So that's like two different pages that they're on. And so I began looking at that, and that's what allowed me to come to realizations, revelations that I feel like I've always waited for. Like I knew they were there, but I couldn't quite put my finger on them. I couldn't quite name them. Or sometimes I would name part of them, but I couldn't embody that. I couldn't integrate it. And so I allowed a lot of space for myself to do that. And so when I wasn't doing a lot of videos, it was because there was a lot going on. And some of it was inside, internal shifts, and some of it were external things that I wanted to take action on. So it was like this space so that I could keep landing in myself over and over. So I'm embodying more of my true self. And of course, this is leading to my higher vision. And I was able to name things in a way that I never had been able to before, in a way that was coherent. It was like I got certain downloads that were absolutely complete. I wasn't expecting them. These weren't things I'd said, okay, I'm going to spend, this week on this. It wasn't even a question I would ask. But because I was so precise in following whatever wanted to come next, whether it was a question I was asking, whether it was a state of being I was in, whether it was just writing and journaling something that I was experiencing. Um, I was able to just, I was in a very present state. I guess that's it. I was in a very present state. And that's, Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. When we are in the now, like really in the now, present, alive, engaged, downloads can come because we are ripe, we are ready. There is an electricity in the air. And so the downloads, one was a logo, and I have never thought of creating a logo, so that was a complete shock, how it just landed. And then, I don't have the graphic design skills to create such things, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to draft it given the skill level that I do have online. And I was stunned at how close it was. And just seeing that was really solidifying. And then another idea came through, which is about my body of work. And that again was just it was just so absolutely complete the way it landed. And it was like I didn't have to question it. I didn't have to, what's the word? I didn't have to question. I didn't have to look at it. Other than yes, I'm gonna let me go deeper into this. Let me explore the exact way I want to name it and all of that. But it was just, as a concept, it was so clear because I've been living this my whole life. Right? That's the thing with our true gifts. They are so difficult to name often because we are living them. It's like trying to describe what it is to have a hand. Well, you've been having a hand all your life. You've had it all your life. So how do I describe this, right? It's not that we're taking it for granted as much as it's so innate that it's difficult to even think to say it out loud, right? You just wouldn't say it. And so that was one of my challenges because I have been consciously going along my path for a long time. It's not new. I've been doing it a long time. And I've had some of the words along the way. But it all coming together and falling like literally like a download as a complete concept. And it came in a way where I was actually kind of asking or saying something like, oh, wouldn't it be fun to do this? It came from a place of playfulness. And so to see it so complete was a shock. And the last few weeks, I've really just been enjoying it. I've been fine-tuning it to the point where there was one day it was like it felt just so complete, like having the blueprint for a certain architecture, and it's just like right there, and you're just looking at the blueprint and going, oh, wow, it's done. It's there. It's clear. I can see it. And yes, there's actions to take to create the building, but the blueprint is there. That's what it was like. And so I've done like a mishmash of videos all year. Some about manifestation approaches and experiences and results I've had, or I've talked to some of my client results. I've talked about process and some of the nuance and the details of process. And some videos really just encouraging you, stay with it. And I can truly say, while on one level, this year to date has not felt particularly dynamic or amazing, or it's like, oh my God, all these things happened. And yet a lot happened. And there was a moment, I think around September, when, I was going into that, oh, you know what, I haven't done enough and I expected more and I don't know if this is all going to happen before the end of the year. Like, I was still back in that whole needing to have results and like I will acknowledge that as process oriented as I am, as much as I might talk about the process and spirituality and energy and frequency and all that, I have a mind that's really been conditioned to think in the way most people do, which is with numbers and goals and quantity and wanting results and all of that. So I am aware of that, and this year has been an experience of staying true to the process and not letting the mind lead. Even when I hear it, I listen to it, I acknowledge it, but I didn't let it lead. And I allowed something greater to lead. And I believe that's why some of those potent moments I had this year really happened, right? Like that time, this was back in the spring, and I did a video on this where a domain name that I had wanted for a couple of years, let's see, since 2021 even, was it 21, something like that. And for whatever reason, I didn't grab it the first moment, like it came to me, and then it was taken, which I was like shocked. Who would know this? Who would know to take that, right? Anyways, so then it was taken, and I wasn't ready to pay them the thousands of dollars for whatever. I was just like, I don't want to do that yet. And then after this, again, another process that I was going through, clearing the fog, clearing the static, allowing myself to get true what it is that I am ready for, what it is that is a true desire, what is it that I am looking and available to see a different perspective that I haven't been looking for or looking at and being open to. And that was a night that I went online and boom, there it was, absolutely available for like $20 or whatever it was to get it. And I was stunned. Of course, I grabbed it this time, right? So, like, moments like this happened this year. And so I'm like really super excited about what's to come. I admit, even at the beginning of this month, or I should say end of November, I was still having thoughts like, okay, what can I do to really have some great win before the end of the year? And that's okay. Like, I'm not against that. If you're in that energy, you're in that momentum, and it's really true for you, then yeah, you can use the next few weeks to land what it is that is yours, right? That's the thing with when we tune into the frequency and we claim something and we receive it within ourselves, things can happen instantly. So I'm not saying don't do that. I'm saying if there's judgment going on, if there's comparison going on, if you are assessing things like, did I do it well enough or wrong or right, I would say just let that go and begin asking a new question. Am I more of myself now at the end of this year, more true to myself? Am I at a place where I can step into 2026 with more of who I am and create? Or did I regress in some way and I need to look at that so that I can see what happened and where I want to go next? Because the more, they always say, the faster you want to go, the slower you go. The more you want to achieve, take the time, right? Because that's where quantum leaps happen. That's how they happen. And you may have a goal right now which your mind thinks is, crazy, but you've taken it on from somebody else. It's not yours. In which case, it will feel difficult. But if you were really to tune in, if you were really to let go of time and say, okay, let's just forget what anybody else says. what is a number or a thing or something, that would really just delight me. And it can be crazy, it can be wild, it can be amazing, it can be beyond what anybody else has ever done. It doesn't matter. It can be small, it can be medium, whatever. The point is, how true is it to you, and the more of you that can come out. Because when you land on that, that's when you're going to start connecting to the field where that is already happened. That is where the magic happens, so to speak. I don't care whether some people, it's funny to me, like how some people are, oh, this is all science, and other people are, oh, it's all magic, right? Like, let's not worry about the words, right? If you like magic, like me, use it. If you like it, of course, I know there's an element which will appear like science as well, right? But again, use the language that moves you, that grounds you as well, that lifts you, that has you step into that aliveness instead of it stopping you or making you think. So, lots of integration for me this year. Definitely not the number of videos I expected. And instead of focusing on growing the channel, which I thought might be a priority this year, it's not been the priority. And given it's the end of the year, I don't have a problem with that because something else came through that was actually more important. If I had gone along the path of just saying, I'm going to, create like, X number of videos, or I want X number of subscribers or X number of views and all of that, I would have really been focused on the external and not probably touched even a bit of what I feel was the beauty that I was able to connect with. The beauty, and for me, the beauty, the work that I do, you can call it my purpose, my calling, what keeps opening me to more of being alive in this world, what opens me to connect with more people, what expands who I can be in this lifetime. All of that is the direction that I gained by not going for the obvious material results that I thought I might go for at the beginning of the year. And I don't know how much sense this made to you. Again, if you've been watching my videos, it will obviously make more sense than if you're absolutely new here. But I would be interested in hearing if anything of what I spoke speaks to you. If you want to reflect or share where you feel you are at the end of the year, whether you're at, wow, yeah, I'm just, I'm good. I just want to take it easy and take the rest of the month off and chill out and really just savor life. Or you're at, no, you know what? I've got a few more weeks and I'm going to give it my all because I want to, right? Or anywhere in between that. The more it is real for you, true for you, the better the actual results will tend to be as well. I remember there were some videos I shared, again, I think it was around the springtime, where I was having a lot of like intense awareness, and then I would have to like totally like rest. I was like crashing. I just needed to rest. And so all that could integrate, and then I'd be on the next kind of awareness and realization, and boom, like something new would land, and then I would have to rest again. And it was really strange to go through that, but I really allowed myself to have the pauses, and that's why the next wave would come. And when you are in a rapid growth phase, that can happen. I've never had that happen in that way before, so it was quite fascinating. But it showed me, again, it was like the quantum leap stuff, but not on the external. It was like internal shifts that were just going at a speed and intensity that I hadn't been used to before that. So when you trust yourself, you listen to your body, you listen to your heart, you use your mind, of course, you're more likely to come to the things that are actually going to create the very results you dream of. Not that you think about, or you think that's probably, reasonable, or that'll make me at, the status level everybody else is at or anything, but something that actually will get you into your dreams. And so on that note, have a good night, good day, and I will catch you next time.